about that. Go on.
Deciding if talking to Daniel about changing our last name. I've mentioned it. He's hesitant, so we'll see what happens there.
Well, yeah, last names, it depends whether you've taken on the partner's name.
Mhm.
Um, and I get it. You know, actually, when I was in high school, there were these two guys, two boys. One was called Larry Foreskin, and the other one was called Ding Bong Kong in the
Oh
same.
my gosh.
And I'll never
Oh
forget it.
wow.
Oh, that's
They
horrible.
got railed continuously, those
Yep.
poor things, you
Yep.
know. Yeah. So yeah, what's in a name? But I'll do a mini intro just while people are coming in. Um, just to say hi, my name is Inara Griffin. And what we're talking about today is building your empire based on business systems and moon cycles. So equally important, super powerful when you're in tune with both. And that's my magic, I would say. That's one of the things that I've been bringing together for many years, way before it was considered acceptable or even, you know, a topic. There was a period of time, and it still exists really, where you'll see a lot of discounting of spiritual, you know, beliefs. They're like over there, they're lesser than, they're not the big business power and all of that kind of thing. And I actually work the opposite. I actually think they are the power. They are the transmissions from within. And now that we've entered the new earth era, really on the 20th of December 2020, so we've just gone into this new earth era period. What we'll see is a lot of this ancient knowledge becoming more of the norm, and women particularly will resonate with it. And we can talk about that. So, in terms of just starting off, I don't know how many people will come on this because I put it up late and I was doing lots of other things. I was doing my summer solstice activation yesterday. So, there was a lot of publicity around this. But this I will put out anyway as a recording, and it doesn't matter whether you're here live or whatever. I've got two of you here. Um, it's a great topic. And so I don't want to be waiting. So I'm just going to launch it now. And just tell me where you guys are actually, where you are right now in the world.
I'm in Sacramento, California.
Yeah, and then
Right?
I'm in the Chicago suburbs.
Great. And I'm in London, England. So, you know, we're crossing the airwaves to do this. And the reason I mention this is because everything that I do in business now is all to do with different time zones. And I use references. So, one of the things that I wanted to mention right at the beginning, a lot of my colleagues and people who are in business as heavily as I am, because I'm really, 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 really into business. I love it. I think it's amazing. It's like a language, and it's a game, and it's fun, and you can sort of expand yourself and see yourself having influence in the world. And 100% of my colleagues don't use a book like this, right? So I use this rather than Calendly. I do back up everything with Calendly and Google and all of the rest of it to stay on track with that. But this is what rules this kind of book. And the reason why is because when I look at the date now and we see what's going on here, what I can also see is where the moon cycle is. So I'm looking at everything that I'm doing is all planned around the moon, as you can see. I also look, where is it in the States? Where is it in Bali? Because I speak to a lot of people in Bali, Australia, and some in Singapore. So they're they're ahead of us in London. And funnily enough, London is where Greenwich Mean Time exists. In Greenwich Mean Time, you can actually go to Greenwich, which is a part of London. And in the old maritime ways, boats would take off from Greenwich in London, a big sort of seaport area. And there is the line that they have. They have the actual line where you can stand on zero time. in the world, right? Because that's what GMT means, Greenwich Mean Time. And it means that it's 000 through London. So working here and understanding how London is this very pivotal, even though it's a microdot, when you see how tiny it is, even England is so tiny. But when you look at how influential it is because of its time and because it's also the heart chakra of the world, you start to understand why a microdot can have so much influence, right? And that's where I'm super interested in how to pitch yourself as a major influencer, even if you are a microdot, even if you are somebody who's got a far out idea that you wouldn't say is mainstream. How is it that we can do this kind of thing? And so in my way, I'm very present to the fact that I'm positioned in the world to be able to speak to the West Coast right now. Those of you who are waking up West Coast America, I can speak to the Europeans. They're 1 hour ahead of us. So that's a huge scope of influence right there. And then first thing in my morning, I can speak to those who are in Australia, Bali, and whatever. And that's how my day is set up. So I have a very unusual, I don't have 9 to 5. Let's put it that way. So I might start speaking to the Australians at 7:30 in the morning and go till, let's say, 10, have some Brits in there in the morning as well, maybe some Europeans as well. I just spoke to somebody in Sweden this morning, and then I have a break. My break is right in the middle of the day. I go and either do yoga. I have to get out of the house. I just have to go out and get a matcha latte, which gives me great pleasure. And then when I come back, the Americans wake up, right? So it's like, and part of why I'm explaining this is because I have the most unconventional, on some level, business, some unconventional level. And on another level, I am really working with some of the big business in the world, right? And I'm maintaining this unusual way of being because that's how I set it up, right? And welcome as you're coming on. I'm seeing another one coming in. Welcome, welcome. And so where you position yourself, if you start to understand that, rather than you being at the mercy of the business world that you're connecting with and thinking that you should morph into it, I want to give you a sense that even if you are in corporate America, even, which is the most corporate of the corporate, besides the Germans, even if you're in that, you can start to bring these fluctuations and these kind of flows and cycles, which are going to make you feel like you're in charge of everything, right? The minute that you give the more power to the cycles that you're in and the situation you're in. So that's what I was saying, like England, Greenwich Mean Time, I'm at 0. I can speak to these people, but I couldn't keep a 9 to 5 role there, right? There's no way. So I've made choices about that. And when I start to bring in the extra piece, which is if you get in touch with truly what you're here to do on the planet, and that is like a calling. So it's very different even than a mission. A mission has got a drivenness to it. It's still got that energy of, well, it's got a religious angle to it, right? Missionaries who went out to convert other people. So mission has got a real driven, purpose-led kind of energy. And I don't prefer the word at all. But if you feel your calling, you can imagine a calling is you're being called forward towards it. It's calling you into being. And it's not this driven mission-like energy, two totally different energies. And if you're dealing with the calling, that's where you are going to find true success. And I mean, success in all ways, success in, abundance, in money, in feeling good about the way your day pans out, feeling good about your family, your lovers, your whoever is in your life, right? You can find a way to fit it all in, and you don't have to give something up, because the calling, though it's calling you, is to create an abundance of lifestyle that fits everything. So it's certainly not all about money. And that's one of the big pieces that I want to mention here. So I would like to ask you guys, have any of you worked actively with moon cycles ever? And just feel free, you can speak out loud. I can see you all. Here comes another one. Woo!
Wow. I'm using this right now.
I'm trying to see. Oh yeah, very nice.
Mhm.
So you're using, so do you use actively moon cycles in your life and business?
Yes, but it's been a new thing. I would say in the last 3 months that I decided that I would try to use some of that in my post and kind of still go with it, but still try. Where I've been trying to do is been trying to tie in what I do with it, and sometimes I get stuck. But yeah, that's definitely been, so that's why this really interested me when I saw it.
Great. Well, so you're being initiated into a whole world, which is quite fascinating and amazing. We'll see. And hi, Isabel, just say hello to you. And you're a newcomer to that. So this is going to, I hope, give you such a tremendous insight into what you're up to, that it will last the rest of your life, right? Like that. And it will be of interest. And what about the others? Has anybody else had experience of working with moon cycles in your business or your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of fascinating. We'll see if you can hear me. Because Inara, obviously know that we've worked together on moon cycles and making agreements and things on moon cycles. And then I've been doing full moon ceremonies, trying to decide if change to new moon ceremony.
You just muted again, just to let you know.
Oh,
I think your finger
yeah.
hit
Can
the
you hear
mute.
me? I know someone just started mowing the lawn.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not only the moon cycles, but then also the seasonal cycles. And so working with the seasons as well as the moon cycles and kind of their interconnectedness as well.
Yeah, great. And how about everybody else? Just unmute yourself and just let us know if you've been actively or inactively using moon cycles.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Hello. I haven't actually, but I've after joining your 13-month full moon ceremonies and sessions last year, that's how I actually got acquainted to it. So I'm thankful for that. That's why now when I saw your email, I thought, hey, I'd like to learn more about it.
Great. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
excellent. And then anybody? Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. So hi, everyone. I'm really, really new to this. I'm just sort of observing and also just enjoying the process of just being curious about the whole world around me. So yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful process.
Great. Okay, so what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit of ancient history to start you off with this. And in my latter life, I was very much a student of history. So my first degree when I went to university was as a history student, and I won a scholarship for it. And I ended up going to the University of Toronto at that time to study history. And what I realized was that the history I was learning was super boring. And I mean, I was really good at it, but it was like I was learning, in 1066, William the Conqueror entered England, blah, blah, blah. And then in another date, da, 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 happened. And this king and this queen did that. And then this king, mostly kings, right, for forever, did this, did that. And what we were not really understanding or hearing about was ordinary people, what was happening on the land, on the ground, what was really happening. Because if I had to imagine that this era of my life or your lives is represented by Queen Elizabeth's existence on the throne, it is an absurdity. Do you know what I mean? It's like Queen Elizabeth, who was born in blah, 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 and she did this and she did that. And that's the history is, you know, pronounced. So when I started digging deeper and looking at what was of great interest, I went back and studied Neolithic history and Neolithic archaeology. And there you will find, you know, all the ancient civilizations and temples. And most of them are organized with the moon, the sun, the stars, and the great temples of the world. All the great spiritual systems of the world were based on nature. And so when you go back that far, which is 5000 BC, and I was interested in Neolithic goes all the way back to, it can be 14,000 BC of the, it's not Stone Age, right? And what's so interesting is that they have the same minds as us. They have the same capacity, the same brains, the same capacity for understanding things as us. So there is no difference. They were just dressed differently. They had a simpler life. They hadn't got mobile phones, etc. And everything that they governed across the board, doesn't matter what culture you come from, it always went back to deeply understood ancient cycles of nature. And that is so hardwired in our cultures, right? And we're all different cultures here. And even this thing about white, you know, which is currently such a misunderstanding. When I am in a room, you know, sometimes I'm in ceremony, for instance, with a group of white people, and none of them are English. They're, you know, they'll be like Norwegians and Finnish and Lithuanians and French and German and Israelis and et cetera, et cetera. So white is a misnomer, right? It really is. And it needs to be broken down. We don't tend to ask, because we've had a colonial history, what's your mix with a white person, right? You just assume, oh, they're all white. But I'm very interested in that, because when you start to see the threads that everybody, if we were in a circle right now, I would choose to see you as an indigenous elder of your cultural lineage, just like I am. And those mixes and threads of knowledge that go through you would mean that you would have a deep understanding culturally and in parts of the earth of cycles, which brings us more together, and it doesn't separate us, right? When you start looking at this way that we are all, and so I see you in a circle, as if we're standing in a circle right now. And then to add into that, so where did time come from? We know that time came from a study of the stars. There was a combination of astronomy, astrology, watching moons move, planets move. But on the earth level, the month came from menstruation. So women's bleeding times were directly a consequences of the entire tribe starting to understand time. And how that works is, if you have women and men working together, and I won't go into non-binary at that stage, because historically it's a massive construct there, right? So let's just say women and men working together in tribes all over the world. The women in natural light would all ovulate and menstruate at the same time. When you take away the construct of electric lighting or fluorescent lighting or modern day life that we have now, it would have been, it's like a clue that light actually activates cycles. So women, and even, you know, when I used to work in film and film crews, especially with a group of women, we would all start to harmonize when our menstrual cycles were. And other women will tell you that, right? Even for the men on here. News has it. And so there's this syncing that starts to happen with community, where not only do you know that the cycles of women are actually having a profound effect on the rhythm and the cycle of the whole community, because the feeling and vibration at the dark of the moon is when they would be menstruating. And at the full moon, that's when they would ovulate. So the knowledge, if you look about how this was all put together in tribal society, it was understood that women who were menstruating at dark of the moon, they were in a much quieter phase. That's what happens with the physicality of having a period. It's drawing the energy in, you're losing some energy as well, so you need to take care of yourself. And then at the same time, it's a great time where you get insights, divination, and it was known in the tribe. That's the time when the men used to seek out the wisdom of the women to find out what messages they were getting for the tribes, what divination, what prophecy, what did the community need to do. That was really like super potent women's wisdom coming through. And you could say that was just the women. Of course it wasn't. It influenced everybody in that tribe because of the way the emotional landscape was of women drawing in energy, pulling it in, hanging out together. They even had red tents, which is in ceremony, they would go into red tents where they would bleed onto the moss together and hang out as a group of women. But the men would come and ask the women what the messages were. What is coming through for the tribe? What's the knowledge? So you've already got in ancient prehistory a situation where you're seeing tribal movement being activated by the feminine cycles. And you can see that when it's the ovulation cycle, and you even know that the behavior of women who are ovulating is like, let's get it on, because here comes my good friend Alora. You just popped in at the perfect time. We're talking about ovulation. When you see the behavior of women who are ovulating, it's been even studied scientifically. What happens when they're ovulating is there's a natural instinct to get it on, right? So it's sexy time. So they start dressing up. It's all the adornment. They hang out in large groups. It's party time. It's celebration. And so, of course, the men in the tribe, if you weren't gay, would be picking up on this vibe. Even if you were gay, it didn't matter because it was just party time, right? That comes up as an energy. Every month, there was a quieting down, and then there was an activation time. Then what happened was, after these cycles just became embedded in community life, and also the half points, like the midpoint between those were very different. They're kind of points of decision making. And new moon, or just after a menstrual cycle starts, is a very good time to start something. So we start to see that even the word menstruation and moon and month are all etymologically, I can never say that word straight, etymologically connected. So moon, month, menstruation all come from the same source. And you start to see we are now working in months, right? We're working in this rhythm that is going on that you can also follow it by the moon, because when the moon is dark, that's when women used to menstruate. And then when it starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter to the full moon, that's full moon time. So you can see the month is actually now dictating the menstrual cycle. It's totally in tune with nature. Women are totally in tune with nature naturally. And then you've got the whole system of society built out from that. So we have been in this era of patriarchy for 6,500 years, which is suspicious of women, right? Literally at the point of persecutions and witch hunts, anything feminine was considered suspicious. Like, you look at the neighbor's cow, and if the cow coughed, then you were a witch, right? Because you made that cow cough, and if the cow was then ill, then you bring in the, you bring in the Inquisition. The Inquisition would have to go through everybody. And who did they focus on? They focused on women. And it was, we know also there was a lot of men taken out in that times, because all of this period of our development that was when nature was at a peak understanding. Nature ruled in nature religions before Christianity had arrived. Christianity, on the other hand, was super patriarchal at that time and didn't want women's wisdom to be going out there. And also women's sexuality was considered very dangerous because you didn't have any control over it, right? And this was a control religion. It's the era of controlling. So why I'm giving this backdrop of history is because to understand the cycles at that level, like every month you're going through a cycle which is deeply connected in society all over the world, for all women all over the world, having these, even if you don't have a menstrual cycle, even if you're out of that, or you haven't even gotten into it, the whole society is constructed on that, these rhythms that are going on all the time. And then along comes patriarchy. And at the end of it, it comes along with the Industrial Revolution. And it is the opposite of cyclical. It's the exact opposite of cyclical. What all of those systems are trying to do is produce productivity at the highest level. So its main concept behind it is push. Push, 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 push. There is no difference in the energy day to day. And this is the thing that I always speak into about corporate life, is it's a mess because it doesn't give any individual attention to the power of these cycles. And if you drive something it's always like this, dun 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 dun, like for your whole life, what happens is you see the result of men who have been in that cycle. They go the whole life and then they retire, and they often die 2 years within the 2 years that they retire, because they have no purpose, they have no function, there is nothing other than work. That's their identity. So that's a bit of history to start to understand how important cycles are in governing things, and also seeing that there are times that are super important to draw in energy, pull it in, and it's the right time to do that. In other words, not push at all, observe, receive information, receive, like the ancient ones would say, divination. So actually receive messages in a big way, look at your dreams. And that was an appropriate thing to do at that time. There were other times which were appropriate to have mass celebrations, mass group activity, and you can see that. And then when you add in the seasons of the wheel of the year, and I've studied a lot of ritual societies because it's just been like such a fascinating thing. So I've definitely studied it in certain areas where I've gone to rituals of the localized inhabitants in India and Africa and South America, and Native American Indians and Canadian Indians who are First Nation, and in Bali, in Thailand. So wherever I've gone, and then in England and Ireland, I have sought out shamans, indigenous leaders, medicine people, teachers, to see how their festivals, what I can say 100% is we are not different anywhere. It's all the same. It's just slightly varying, activity based on the, if it's freezing, it's not like where I come from in Yorkshire, is they're not great at dance. Let's put it that way. So I look to all the Africans for the dance moves, and all the, the South Americans, because it's part of their culture. But Yorkshire is fantastic for singing sea shanties because everything was to do with the sea. And at my cousin's wedding a few years ago, all the elder men, it was just astonishing, all stood up and started singing these sea shanties. And I was like, wow, where did you guys, I didn't even know you did that, but they do. They've got this kind of, that's their culture. It's this backdrop. So when we take the seasons, it's also got time to close in, time to express, time to action something, time to release something, like the autumn is a releasing time. And so that's how I work business. And so that's a big, big lump story of history contained in a very ancient Neolithic kind of perspective, but taking it all the way through to modern day, right? And looking at New Earth now, which is what I'm interested in. How can we use this ancient wisdom? And then how can you rock out the most incredible businesses based on these systems? And you can see how vibrant they are. So I think the first thing that I want to say about it is, if you are working against a current, and the current happens to be a cycle that's already in place, it is much harder to launch a business or a new idea if you are going against the timing. And so I'm very interested in the timing of things because of this. So it's like saying, hey, that spring energy of like, hey, we're all going to take our clothes off and get out and have that bouncy energy, but we're going to do that, in November. It just, you can feel it, right? Especially if you live in a cold place, it'd be like, oh my God, like that's not a fit. It just doesn't fit. When you start to work with things that are naturally there and as opportunities, and you allow yourself to not swim against the current, but instead to be in rhythm with the current of the year. So that's ancient festivals. That's the timing of each month. Then what I have in front of me is a map. So when I work with clients, and I can ask this to you guys right now, and I just want to shout out to my friend Alora. Hello, darling. It's nice to see you, even though I'm not seeing you visually. I know you're there. I would say to you, I want you to tap into your favorite time of year. So it's the first level of question I ask a client, and I want you to think about it. What is your favorite time of year? And you might want to drop it in the chat, or you can unmute and just tell me, what's your favorite time of year? Somebody.
Hi, this is Alora. I'm still in my 90. I slept in this morning. I'm in California. My favorite time of year really is the spring, spring coming into summer, but before it gets too hot. Here we are.
And so why do you
Still in
like
my
the spring? Tell me, what are the ingredients that you like about it?
I just love seeing all the flowers come up and the new life. It's like the new life after winter and things have been dormant. And then, just like the nature is coming, into fruition, like it's always there. And it just feels like this is a new cycle to start again. It's like a new year. So that's why, I think that's why the reason I love it.
Great. So you can hear how that's your story, and it's full of an emotional response to that time of year. And so let's hear somebody who likes another time of year and tell us why you like that.
Yeah, I love the fall. Like, I really love the colors in the fall. I think it's actually even like my September ends up being crazy sometimes. And so that, um, it's really that time almost after the autumn equinox before Halloween. And so that's like my favorite time of year with the colors. I love the smells of actually the decomposing. And I realized for me too, I love to prepare things and I love to be kind of on that, because for fall, like it is the harvesting, but before the birth, to me, it's the preparation. And so I think that's kind of actually, now thinking about it, is really what I'm good at. I'm really good at preparing and getting ready for the transformation and the birth. And so I think that to now looking at that. And then also the color and the creativity in the fall is just absolutely beautiful. So
Great. Well, thank you. And you can hear again, there's this whole emotional response to it. Anyone else want to shout out for one of the other two? The other two seasons?
I love summer. I absolutely love the heat. And right now I'm actually on the mend from eczema. I think that the sun is actually really helping my skin, and I'm grateful for that. And to be immersed in the hot humidity here in Toronto, which I'm sure you're very familiar with anyway, Inara.
Yeah, I remember it well.
It can be quite humid here in the summer, but I'm grateful for all 4 seasons. And just harkening back on what you said at the beginning of earlier, actually, on your masterclass, I think that it is very important for me to go back and read some of the books that I have in my own personal library about the sacred feminine, and in terms of how ancient civilizations actually worshipped women. I mean, there were, you can see these historic artifacts when you dive into the archaeology. There are these beautiful artifacts of women with bosoms, and then their bodies are like round, and just societies actually worshipped them. So I think there is something historic to that. I think there's something spiritual about that. And I'm really grateful that you mentioned your some of the context of why you do what you do, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, pleasure. So we don't have anybody shouting out for the winter, but the one person that I do know who likes winter most is an African I know. And it always makes me laugh, because we have this idea culturally that somehow Africans, they like the heat, they like to dance. So I've met Africans who can't dance and love the cold. I've met a Brazilian who prefers the winter, and his girlfriend is a Lithuanian and she prefers the heat because it's cold in Lithuania, And so we have these ideas, but if I was setting you up with the first piece in how to operate your business, it would be that emotional hit is absolutely vital, and you would be doing something at that time. And it would also be the qualities of that time of year that would take on the energetic of what it is that you're putting together, right? If you wanted a different cycle to look at, it would be, what's the day cycle for you? And for me, I love sunsets. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I can appreciate all other kind of time. I'm just going to mute you because there's a siren going on. I've just muted you, a Toronto siren. So there's times of a day as well that if you ask yourself, there will be something that really speaks to you emotionally. And that's what we're looking for, to set you up to be incredibly successful. And this is in the business context. What we want to notice is, what is the emotional hit for you? And what is the quality of that? So 2 ways that I start to work with these cycles are, if I'm setting up, so I love autumn, I've always loved autumn, and I like the mystery as well. And I also like the end of the day. So I've got a darkness to me, right? I'm not like perky chirpy. I am that too, but I really like, there's something mysterious as well about twilight and all of that. So I know that in my business, there's a quality of me which has to be represented in that way. And just like Janice was saying earlier, she likes the autumn. For me, there's a really deep connection with it. So it also has death associated with that time of year, and shadow work. So I work shadow work in all the stuff that I do. It's not just, hey, wow, Lululemon. I've got a friend who works in Lululemon. I can guarantee that is an early spring energy, because their question as you go through the door is, what kind of pants do you want to wear? Now, if I had to maintain that level of energy, I would go bananas with it, because it's like this kind of thing. It's so squeaky happy. And I am a bit dark, right? I like a bit of darkness. I like the mystery and all of that. So it's a better fit for me to look at things which have the qualities which are a little bit more poignant, you know. And I actually worked with a high priestess who always said the irony about me is that I look so light and blonde and I'm so dark in a certain way. And she's right. Like I am very comfortable with death cycles. I'm very comfortable with sitting with people who are ill and who are dying, because I've got that in my ingredients. So when you start to map out, rather than what job will I have, instead, what qualities and ingredients and emotional hits do I have to certain things that make me happy, then you are going to start to work from there into, we start to look at the moon cycles as well. And you can do this even if you have a job, to make the variation in your life. If everything was the same all the time, just like that corporate mentality of just the same, ticking along, to counteract that, start to have a look at the moon and literally witness it in the sky. Start to see how you emotionally feel at that time. Women have a natural edge on that one, I would say, to men who don't menstruate. When you do menstruate, there is a direct link to nature in that way. So rather than dishonoring it and going, oh, get over yourself and just be the same as you are, that's corporate mentality, right? It's just like, get over yourself, just produce at the same rate, the same way every day, have the same day for the rest of your life. When you honor the cycles and the tides, you start to look at, well, in this month, I'm going to have a time that I need to honor rest, deep experiences of opening, receiving, and all of that. So when is that time? And because I am my own business owner, I build that in. And the thing about rest and that period of time cycle, that cycle of darkness, is that it has been discounted. So when you're bringing it back into your consciousness, you have to make a nothing a something. And how do you make a nothing a something? You put it into your diary. You actually have to write it into the script that there is a spaciousness in certain times of either the day or in certain times of the month, and also in certain times of the year when you're going to go into receiving mode. It's like receptivity. That aligns with the dark of the moon. And it allows you to, actually, that's when you get some of the biggest insights. So, and what we're looking at is we're looking at working smart. And smart working is about working the least number of hours for the maximum results, profit, abundance, and all the rest of it. So the biggest challenge, I would say, is if I ask somebody who's hardwired with corporate America, so when's your downtime? Oh, no, I don't need that. Oh, it's okay. What are we doing in that time? So I have to work with them to see it as a something that's of value, because it's been devalued in history for a very long time, 6,500 years to be exact on that. So we have to bring this stuff in. Now, what I have noticed is when I allow myself spaciousness that is not busy, that is not filling in, always this, filling in activity to look like I'm busy, the downloads are enormous. It's the biggest quantum shifts that I've had in my businesses, or when I allow that spaciousness. And when I value it and I write it into my diary and I write it into my year, like this is non-negotiable, that there's time off, and time off holiday versus time off recepting, receiving, experiencing a different modality, is when I've up-leveled my business like ridiculously. because the invitations that come in at that time, when I am in this energetic spaciousness, have been next level. When you want to start to work this into your year, the first thing that you would do is look at, when do I really relate to something like it's my up time? So for me, autumn. So I plan a lot of action, deep workings, events, because I'm an event producer in the autumn. So if I was looking at a wheel of the year, the map, I would be marking out, that's the uptime. When's the downtime? The downtime for me is something like August. So it's not that it's opposite, right? It's not like you get these things that are one over one side of the year and one is the opposite. Another downtime would be April for me. And that's exactly what I honor. So I start to build in systems where I'm saying to team, you are covering me in autumn because I'm super busy. You're covering me in April because I'm not available. You're covering me in August because I'm unavailable. And when you start to branch out with team, which is the first piece that I say to everybody, get an assistant. When you're really starting to level up in your business and your thinking as well. Again, we've been taught you must do it all. You must go on your own path, and they've got all those little sayings about you do it on your own, and you don't need to ask for help. Actually, it's the opposite. So go to the opposite first. Where can you get the help that's going to cover you so that you have time not only off for receiving, but also when you're super busy? So as I've leveled up with these kind of questions and inquiries, I'm now working with an A-lister team. And that means when I produce an event, and I produce events for others as well, and I produce them for myself, I'm handing all this tech stuff to one of my people who runs funnels, and I have nothing to do with it. That's my downtime receptivity as it works in team. It not only just works in timings, it works in, what am I gonna not do? What am I not gonna touch? To be really excellent at leadership, you've got to make an agreement that you are not going to touch certain things, just like you are not going to do certain things. You are not going to have your time filled. You take the opportunity to delegate in a really big way. And so even if you've just got one assistant, that's the first phase of it. At this point, I'm running 3 teams. They're all in different countries. And in the same way that there are these cycles of business, there are also agreements in place of, I don't touch it. And it's not because I'm a drama queen or I'm higher than this or any of that. It's untouchable, just like my receiving time is. So that also means when I look at the timings of the year, they know they handle it for me, right? And the support and the level of how we move is very different than a corporate construct. And these are the kind of questions you can start to ask yourself right at the beginning of building an empire. You have got to be, what am I going to do? What's the peak experience? What am I absolutely not going to do? When am I going to do things? Peak experience. When am I agreeing not to do it? And when you bring it into your week, you could see the week very much like another cycle, right? Within a month, you've got 4 weeks that go on. You've got to choose when you're going to take when's going to be super action, what day is going to be super communication, what day is going to be super no communication. So you can look at it in the same way. One day has to be dark of the moon. One day has to be like the activations, the starting and the communication. So when you would start is on a new moon. So I have that as Tuesday. Tuesday is always that day. And is today Tuesday? Yes, exactly. So I always put, You know, anything like this that I'm doing is a Tuesday because I'm initiating. This is my new moon day. I'm initiating conversations and I do a lot of communication. Friday, forget about it. I wanted to extend, that's the day I do yoga. It's a day when I have more reflection, I receive, but I don't take on coaching calls on that day. So because this, I can run over this hour for sure, but I just want to see if you've got any questions about this basic level of starting to set yourself up in a very different modality of business. Some of you probably have major businesses and some of you may not, but just tell me where you are in this and starting to hear what's going on here.
I have a question. If that's, before other people. But I've definitely, I have like a virtual assistant and a couple of people are helping me with social media, etc. But I realized I really need, like a full-time or at least a part-time 20-hour-a-week assistant because, all the moving pieces of my businesses, and also realizing that I don't want to do them. I don't want to sit for, 8 hours on the computer. But what I'm finding is, it's that leap of faith that, to pay someone, a part-time or a full-time wage, it's like you have to jump up in your business. So I suppose my question is, if you feel that financially you're not at that position of hiring a full-time assistant, but you need to, what's your advice on that?
It would be to map out the ideal situation is to be super ruthlessly honest with yourself. Like, and I did this recently with, I do this exercise, which I'm sure some of you have done with me, where you divide the paper in 4, and then you write passion in the top left, excellence in the top right, competent in the lower left, and incompetent in the lower right. And so the first question you ask on that exercise is, what am I incompetent at? What I hate? What can I not stand? Now, when you have an emotional hit, remember all of this is emotional capacity to not only blast out your best business and your best life, but what's the stuff that drains the hell out of you if you're doing it? And we call that incompetence. So the piece that I would say is you've got to be super, super clear on the 2 spectrums there. What is passion for you? And what is, ugh, can't stand it? For me, can't stand accounts. Can't stand having to say, upload stuff onto somebody else's website. If they say, oh, it's so easy, they just give me 50,000 different labels of how to do it. And I'm like stuck in this, that energy drives me nuts. Even though I can do it, I don't want to do it. And it makes me feel yuck. So the first piece that you do is identify the yuck. That is what you must get somebody to fill in for you at least once a week. Now, the leap when you're at the beginning of the entrepreneur scale is the first thing that will come in is money. It'll be like, oh, but I can do it. The cost to you is huge. So you've got to start to say, even on a tiny scale, I'm going to hand some of this over, the stuff that drains me, because what you won't be able to do is maintain doing those things and having this sparkle, which will project the whole business forward. And that should be the passion. So passion, when you think about that, that's not just what you're good at, but what is it that you just love? Like you just absolutely love it. So for me, I don't need to get prepared for public speaking. Like you could ask me to do a public speaking thing in 2 minutes to 30,000 people, and I would be like, game on, like that, because I love it so much. I could talk till the cows come home. I don't care if it's a small audience or it's a massive audience. There is no difference. I love it. Love, love, love. And so if I was doing that other stuff, the icky stuff, coming up to, we've got 2 minutes, but you need to give an accounting detail to somebody in that 2 minutes, it would be like that. But if you say, I want you to speak on stage to 30,000 in 2 minutes, it's like that. Wherever you experience the yay is the only focus you should be giving your business. Actually, in the end, what we do is we delegate the incompetent away. So if you had somebody assisting you once a week, just once a week, with all the crap that you can't stand doing, that is going to save you so much time and eventually money. If you allow yourself to be in this realm of passion, and excellence is beside passion, but it's not the same. Excellence will always have a sort of more, I'm very good at it. So I'm good at writing, for instance. And if I'm just writing when I want to, it's passion. But if I have to produce something, it's excellence, right? It slips down a notch for me. It's not the same. And you can imagine what that is in your own world. Where you want to get your business is passion and excellence, and then you want to drop excellence as well. So I'm almost at that point, and it's taken years to get there. And how I've done that is because I start with all the incompetence, and for sure that had to be covered by somebody else, because of the feeling is too draining and it will not make you excel in anything. So it's a liability, actually. It's like, should not touch it, should not, terrible, go away. Competent is similar to incompetent. It's like, I could drive a truck and deliver things. Yes, I could. That's about as exciting as that gets for me. So I should not do that. I'm doing a disservice to my team if I'm entering into those things, because what will come up is survival. The only energy you'll have around those things that drain you are survival. So really what you're wanting to do is project your business massively forward with the passion at the times of the month when you feel the passion, when you start to know you are in passion, with the times of the week that are your passion, with the times of the year that are your passion. And so even though, and this is how it kind of works, even though I don't do events all the time, and even though I don't, do this all the time, whatever I do, when I do it, when it's aligned to passion, has massive quantum results. And this is the thing. I've written this book called The Little Book of Influence. And influence is not about Kim Kardashian's ass getting another 1 million followers on Instagram, right? It's not that influence that I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you are in this level of flow where you're honoring yourself with deep respect in the times that you are going into, say, receiving. You don't try and fill in, you get somebody else to handle it. And then you come out of the shadows and you work only to your passion in those passionate times. The influence that you have is sort of surreally magical. It occurs like you meet the right people at the right time who do the right things, who project you upwards, and the opportunities open constantly to you. And so my way of working and the way I teach it is, I don't believe you start from the bottom and move to the top. I don't believe that. I think that's an old structure that needs to go. I believe it's like, who do you know here? Great, connect. Who do you know here? Great, connect. When are you going to speak? Choose your timing. So look at when I'm speaking right now. It's right at the solstice. So this is a good time for maximum expression, and the quantum leaps that will happen from, it'll just be, I never know how I get clients. It's bizarre. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, because I just move in this way and everything is in flow, and I get people who come to me, and I don't have a massive list. and I don't have a massive continuous like, oh my God, I've got to be like constantly, it's not like that. And that's where this is how this cyclical business works. It projects you in an upwards level of your current that never lets you down. And maybe you'd like to have some questions at this point. So Laura, you'd want to get somebody to cover you for 1 day a week, at least 1 day a week. And that's the first leap that you'd want to do. And you get all the stuff that you can't stand, have them doing it.
Brilliant. Yeah. I just sent you a private message, but yeah. And I when you said 1 day a week, I thought, oh, that's manageable. 1 day a week, then they take on, things I'm incompetent at or really good at, but I don't want to do them. And then as more revenue comes in, then it's like, oh, they can come 2 days a week and etc. So yeah, your answer and feedback was very helpful to me.
So Laura just asked, where's my book as well? So I'll put in there's the links to the paperback. It's on Amazon.
Oh, great. I couldn't
Any
find
book.
it. I couldn't find it on Amazon US. So
That's funny because this is US.
I might have typed in the title wrong. So
Okay.
brilliant. Let me do this and see what comes up.
So anybody else? I mean, is there something that you can see that you're not doing in this sort of modality, or you're fascinated by, or any insights that are coming through for you?
I think for me, it's been that I've been much more aware of the moon cycles as I've started this process or learning about it, that I used to ignore and not even really pay attention. And so I'm becoming more so about it. So that's definitely an insight. And to be able to use it in business is great. And so thank you so much for providing this information that you've given us. What was the journal that you're using? Is that something that's available that we could get?
Yeah, it is. It's called We Moon. So it's really all about wee moons. But what I like about it is I like visuals. So for me, I can see literally how the moons are panning out on different days. And I like this one because it also does the ancient festivals of the year. So there are 8 festivals of the year, and they go Imbolg, 2nd of February, which is it's like the first light. That's an ancient one, and it's nothing to do with the moon or the sun. That's how ancient it is. Those ones that are, nobody knows what the hell they're to do with, they're really ancient. Then you have spring equinox, which is a solar one, because it's when the day and night are equal, and that's March 21st. Then you have Beltane, which is the love festival, which is May 1st. And that again is an ancient one because it's not aligned to moon or sun. It could often be represented on a full moon near May 1st, whichever that would be lunar Beltane. That's all about, May is like the lover's time. It's like to dress up, to go out, to be seen. Then it's the summer solstice, which is the peak of sun based on sun, and that's full expression, masculine. So it's like overt, it's being seen. So that's why I'm doing this right now. I will be seen and overt, even though I can see there's 5 people on this. And that never worries me. It's, that thing about you need like a gazillion. I think 25 signed up for it. 5 are actually live. I promise you it will have results for me because of the way I'm building my year. The one after that, again, Ancient Festival, is Harvest Festival, August 2nd. That's all about, so I have a client I'm working with right now who's doing an event, and I did all of this with her. And I said, well, she's somebody who's moving from being quite a conventional doctor. She's so not conventional, but she does that in Sweden. all the way to becoming a sex therapist and pleasure therapist and dealing with deep trauma as well as the good stuff. And she's come up with her event because I believe that events are the way that you will get seen, right? So I'm helping her with a digital event, and it's called Deeply Satisfied, the Deeply Satisfied event. And the Deeply Satisfied is on Lammas because it's harvest. So we lined it up. So using this methodology, as she is going from a conventional business like being a doctor, we wanted to give it the most kapow that you could possibly do to like her arrival onto the world stage. So Deeply Satisfied, I think, is an amazing title. And then you can imagine we're putting that in the Harvest Festival period when people are naturally in tune with that good stuff. You'll have seen all the good food coming out in the summer, the fruit, you know, it's the right timing for her. The one after that is the autumn equinox, which again lines up with sun, because we've got the two equinoxes, which are the equal day, equal light of the spring and the autumn. And then you've got the summer solstice, which was yesterday, maximum light, and minimal light is the winter solstice. Those are the ancient solar ones. So after the autumn equinox, next one is Halloween or Samhain. And that one is really ancient, and it's got, it used to be the Celtic New Year, but it's also got a kind of life and death, parting, you know, saying goodbye, letting go of the autumn. And then you have the winter solstice. Those are the ancient rituals. Christmas was put onto the ancient winter solstice. So was, you know, you'll see a lot of cultural festivals lining up at the same time. So Diwali and there's fireworks night in England are all around Halloween. Diwali is India, and it's all the festival of light. It just so happens it's fireworks night, you know, in Britain. There's no mistake there. These are ancient fire festivals, which are all kind of combining in language and understanding symbolically. So yeah, any other questions about where you're at with starting to put yourself into your power positions, really is what it's about. Was that a thumb up? Okay. So where we're at this week, to bring it right now potently to where you're at, we have had the summer solstice yesterday. That is the ancient festival of the masculine, full solar expression. The divine masculine is all about being seen, overt, has to be acknowledged, can have drama. It's all of that kind of thing. And then you've got that full solar expression. And a few days later, you've got the full lunar expression on Friday. And this Friday is, just having a quick look. So you guys who have shown up at this time are in a position to do something powerful with this energy this week. So yeah, it's on Friday the 25th. For some of you, it will be actually, it'll be for PDT, like anybody who's on the West Coast, it'll be full moon in Capricorn, 11:40 a.m. on Thursday. But for us Brits, and for some of those like Bali and that, it'll be Friday. So Thursday, Friday is the full moon. We've got 2 days in between then, which you've got masculine and feminine in the supersonic position in this June moon and solstice to be able to activate your biggest desires, your biggest desires. We've got a moon which is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a major earth sign. And it's also one of the ones that when it's in its exalted balance is excellent at finance, excellent at business. So when you put those energies together, you could create something right now. And if you can't create it right now because you've only just thought about it in this moment when I'm announcing it, then what you can do is attune yourself to what is your maximum expression on the planet. What is that? And you could create a little altar in your home somewhere and put on symbols onto this. So you're doing a focused alignment, focusing in on what is your true expression? What do you want to be doing a year from now? Then you could ask yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what is your maximum expression? And that means that the work, if I was working with you, like, you know, more than just this, I'd be looking at, well, what is the block to your maximum expression? Because the minute that you start talking about maximum, what also shows up is shadow, right? And I like the shadows very much. I'm not just a happy, perky, chirpy little thing. I like shadow, because when you start to work with that and you know it's there and it's a good thing, it's not just like every day is sunshine. You can start to ask yourself, well, where do I lose energy? Where do I feel shame? Where do I feel not good enough? And those are the questions that, if you imagine a rocket taking off, but it's got this heavy weight stuck to it, the heavy weight will always be around all the stuff that we don't want to talk about. Have you got, you know, shame in your past? Have you got like your dirty little secrets? That will be the stuff that's attached to your rocket launch. And so it's time to deal with those. And I always say, whenever you can free yourself of that, it's to in some way announce it, you know, some way to announce your failures, your fears, your whatever, because once you speak it, it's gone. You know, once you've said it, it's gone. So it might be a time, let's say you have had an argument with somebody and it's a loss of power right now, then you can go and be vulnerable with them. You don't have to figure the whole piece out. You just have to work on the energetics of it. Because really, the greatest leaders, doesn't matter who they are, will be brought down by the tiniest little things. It's the same shit that we all feel. And it'll be like, oh my God, I couldn't possibly say that to, you know, so-and-so. Oh my God, I couldn't possibly. Well, this is the week that you could. And this is the week that if you align it with your superpowers of what is maximum expression for you, how would that look? You know, what is that like for you? What is that in business for you? What does it look like? And start to build that, not only on your altar, like an energetic landscape that you start to feed, but also ask yourselves, where do you want to be in 5 years or a year from now? And also 10. Like, stretch this and start to step into it and catch yourself. Sometimes it's accountability. You know, you can waffle on forever saying, oh, I will do something. As somebody said to me once, the 12th of never. Yeah, that's how we delay putting off life. So now it's like, what are you going to do about it? You can hear some major clicking. Laura, are you clicking?
Oh, no.
Are you clicking like mad?
I don't think it was me. I was on mute, but let me mute. Maybe maybe it was me. Hold on one sec.
It's all right. So all I want to do is just say, make a commitment today to use this cycle right now, to step into your next level, like your full power next level. What does that look like? For some of you, it look like maybe stepping out of a job, right? And moving into something like the doctor I'm working with. She's moving into a totally different business, but it's one that she's aligned with. Maybe it's making yourself like, I don't want to live in this same country and I want to move to so-and-so. Well, what's that vision? Maybe there's a peak experience that you imagine if you're a performer. Like, what is that you want to get to? And whatever it is, what I would say is if you have an inkling of it, then align with it and put it in the chat right now, so that you're holding yourself accountable in this conversation even. So all of you could just put one word in about what it is that's peak that you're going to do. And we will be announcing in this perfect timing. That's the thing. You're starting to plant a major seed here. So does anyone want to say anything else before we wrap this up for today? I will likely do a layering of these kind of conversations, because this is really the beginning of getting you activated. So I'm sure I'll do others, which is sort of, now that you know this, how are we going to plan out something? But just today, to just get you to, if you can't type it, then say it. So unplug yourself, unmute, and just say what it is that you're activating today. So Laura's got sign with an agent and hire an assistant. Fantastic. Fantastic. Anyone else? I dare you. Promote your new program. Fantastic. And Isabel's got expression. So that means full expression. And that's it. That's all you have to do. It's like looking at the right timing to get to pull these ideas, like anchoring your year, your cycles, because, and you've got learn your next program of songs. Fantastic. And then celebrate the full moon on Thursday or Friday. Look up in the sky and align yourself. That's, again, maximum feminine expression. So it's all about opening your heart, all about allowing that expression of almost like ovulation, even if you're not. It's just that party side of you going out on Friday and feeling that energy, that joy, and allowing this to just marinate this week, because this is a really powerful week. And I will follow up. You'll get this as a recording, and you'll get an email just telling you, and also so that you can see what I'm doing. I know you're all signed up to my email list anyway, but you'll start to see what I'm doing with these things. And I'm sure I'll come up with another one for a later version of what to do with this. Because, you know, we've only started talking about these cycles, but it is fascinating. And to thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure as ever. And Isabel's saying dance time on Thursday. Yeah, exactly. Go dance, you know, like really pull this energy out, and just sending you so much love. Have a fantastic, this solstice time into the full moon, and you'll be performing at a funeral. Therefore, party hard for the dead, right? Party hard for them. And sending you so much love.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
This was great. See you soon. Bye.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Mwah. Stop that.
Hey, Sally.